Hello. Can you hear? Hello. Can anybody hear me? Right, let's put everything on. Hello! Can you hear me? Can everybody hear me? Is everybody there? Everybody there? So, right then, we've got people. So we've got Jan Kra. Hello, how you doing? Hey Boomer, how you doing? Peter, how you doing? Stingy, how you doing? Nicholas, how you doing? And Mags, how you doing? That's on YouTube. And on live stream, we've got Not Banana Joe, Chief Cody, Greeny Eyes, Leap, also known as other people, but he's Leap nowadays, and Stubbo. Well, this is a pilot, really, and it's not going to be about playing the game. It's a live stream, but it's about you guys and us having a discussion about the game. Simple as that. And the reason I've done this is because, look, there are loads of YouTube channels out there. There are loads of YouTubers out there, and my mic's gone again. Hello? Oh, there it is. There it is working. Yeah, there are loads of YouTube channels out there, loads of YouTubers out there. And, you know, we tend to do videos and we tend to tell you what our opinions are and tend to tell you that you should explore, you should accept those opinions. Tough. And be damned with you. So the idea, and everybody, you know, people come back in the comments and say, I don't agree or I do agree. And then people get wound up and people say this part's shit and that's part's shit, but nobody really discusses anything. So the idea behind this was to sort of say, guys, let's have a chat. Let's discuss these things. You know, let's do it on live stream. You're the players. You have a voice. You don't need to just put it in the comments. Jump onto Discord, because that's the only bloody software I've got at the moment that can do this, I think, although I'm looking into it. And, you know, get your voice out there. Vent your frustration. Tell us what you don't like. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you think can improve it. And as a community, discuss it. That was the idea. And like I said, this is a pilot. So you're not going to see me playing any games. You will see some replays going on in the background. But it's in, you know, at a later date, hopefully we can get webcams working so people can be seen and blah, blah, blah. So that's what we're going to be doing. Now, there's a lot of topics. And I've put on my Discord channel that people can, you know, ask questions if they don't want to be on Discord and they don't want their voice heard and stuff like that. They can ask questions on a special channel in Discord, in the channel that's called Subjects for Live Stream Discussion. And I was thinking, well, you know, Meadsy did a video earlier about crates, missiles. Now, I've just done a video about, well, just general chit-chat, really, telling you why I've been absent and my thoughts on a few bits and bobs. And it was doing that video that got me thinking, well, it's great that we do these videos, but let's talk about it. So I thought that let's. I'm not going to talk about Brexit, Cody. No, it's done. It's over. Deal with it. We need to leave the EU server and we need a Brexit server. Yes.
That would be amazing.
A Brexit server. Well, there you go. Absolutely.
Mercy, man. Think of the Brexit.
Now, a couple of topics that always come up, and one of the topics that, you know, they always come up in that's matchmaking, crates, missile tanks is the top topic at the moment. So, I mean, we can look at those. That's not a problem. But it's up to you guys. So somebody's asked, for example, why are there noobs in higher tiers? That was, I don't know where I am. Green Eyes has said, how come some tanks like the mid-Germans or British are underpowered? Who else has said anything? That's about it, really, on the topics to discuss. So let's just deal with the elephant in the room straight off the bat, and let's talk about missile tanks, because everybody seems to have an issue with missile tanks for some strange and unbeknown reason. So what is it about missile tanks that everybody hates? I mean, my view personally is the only thing I don't like about them is the penetration values. Aside from that, I don't have an issue with them. I think the armor is okay. They're not invincible tanks. I think the reload time is about right. I think the mobility is about right. The damage is about right. And I know a lot of people don't like this. You can fire from the lookout bar, blah, blah, blah. But it's pretty difficult to do. You've got to be incredibly dexterous to do it. But I do have a bitch and a whinge about its penetration values. I mean, the penetration is off the scales for these tanks. What are you guys thinking about these tanks?
Who shall go first?
It doesn't necessarily about penetration on its own. My problem mainly, well, for one, is the penetration, but also the fact that they can shoot you while you can't shoot them. Which does kind of give that unfair advantage, because you can stay in cover for the entirety of the match while getting shots in.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a good point. You can shoot players when they can't shoot you, but it is pretty difficult for you to shoot them behind things. I mean, it's not the easiest.
Depends. It does take training, but once you have that, it is very easy to actually do such things.
Ultimately, isn't that the point of a missile, though? Otherwise, just use shells. You just use a heat gun or normal AT shells.
Yeah.
They're just trying to create another game dynamic. But as you say, I mean, it shouldn't be so easy. You shouldn't see the missile nerfed just so you can't shoot them halfway around the map and have them aimed in, things like that, as well as the heat pen.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, like I said, I mean, my biggest gripe with both of them is the penetration values. I mean, the penetration values are just crazily insane. And I've just done a recent video, and in that video, I said, guys, realistically, this is meant to be. It's not a simulator. First and foremost, this is not a tank sim. But the tanks are basically World War II and/or post-war, up to the late 1960s. And to be perfectly honest with you, the missiles during that period weren't that fantastic. They really weren't. I mean, they did good damage when they finally hit something, but they didn't have this fantastic penetration. And whilst this isn't a tank sim, I do think that the penetration values do give the tanks an unfair advantage, especially when you couple in all the other factors, which, as you quite rightly point out, you can fire it round corners and stuff like that. But as Stubbo quite rightly says, it's a missile, and that's the idea behind the missile. I mean, if what's the point of having the missile if it's going to be like a normal shell? And that I understand. But as I said, it's not the easiest thing to shoot it round a corner. I mean, you've got to get good at that. And yeah, some players will, but a majority won't, in fairness. That's just my view.
Well, personally, most controversial things about the tanks, I just find the armor and HP. HP is absurd for a light tank. Like, it has almost the similar as like heavy tank size 8 and quite a number of mediums, but even though thankfully they're nerfing the armor on the D92E1,
I think it's.
but that slope was ridiculous. Just having the armor, mobility, and a very good gun. It's.
We're also suffering a little bit from new tank syndrome, that they're flooding the game because it's a new tank. It's a bit like the Smasher and everything. That okay, it was horrible when it first came out, but how many of them do you see now? And everything's being buffed around it to try and nerf it by proxy. But we'll probably see the same thing with the missile tanks. That they might tweak them down a little bit.
We have nerf in penetration and base damage.
Yeah.
Which I find fine.
Yeah, I mean, Stubber raises a good point there, which is something again I raised in my video when I first did the review on the T95, but in the video I've just released today, there is a new tank syndrome here, and if I had $1 for every time a new tank came out and somebody said it's going to break the game, then I can give it work. I mean, the Smasher was going to break the game. The auto-loading reloaders, or whatever they're bloody called, was going to break the game. The T49 was going to break the game. All these tanks at some stage were going to break the game. Even the Keniotsu was going to break the game. And they didn't, because the novelty does wear off after a time. And, you know, these tanks, okay, whilst they're dominating at the moment, as I said in my video, and Meads has also said it, they will be nerfed at some stage. Don't know what that nerf will be. But whilst they dominate now, it's because they're fresh. But people will lose interest with them eventually, like they do with most new tanks, I would have thought.
Well, true, but then again, we do see some new tanks, like the Mauerbrescher that just... I don't know. They are out there, but they don't perform. They're balanced.
Oh yeah, like motion.
No, I get that, and there's always a balancing issue, and you know, the Wargaming do have the stats, and they do look at, are the tanks overpowered, are they wiping the floor with everything, and they do try and adjust eventually. So, I mean, is this a storm in a teacup, or is this a serious problem in real terms? I mean, because I know a lot of people have really bemoaned these missile tanks, and a lot of people have said, I'm leaving the game. This tank has ruined it completely, and I'm just thinking, is that really the case? I mean, when the Smasher came out the first time, everybody whinged. When the Smasher came out the second time, everybody whinged, and you know, at the moment, the Smasher's getting a bit of a reprieve because everybody's focused on the missile tanks.
Well, Smasher, first of all, most people time passed. People learn how to deal with it, and I think people even got some skills to even fight the thing, and not to forget the buffs in Tier 7. It hurts its penetration, and it's slowly becoming the tiers.
Yeah.
I hope Tier 6 gave it too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's
Quick point.
Yeah, sure.
I'm in a game right now. Ceridian just tried to cross map with a missile, but the velocity of it isn't fast enough for it to get, like, if you're in a decently moving vehicle, it just can't hit you.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if they put the velocity down a little bit more, then the people just wouldn't have a problem with that.
Well, I mean, some of the people on YouTube who are not on Discord are saying the same. They're saying, like, so Mags 215 has said the pen on the missile tanks is ridiculous. It's the same as the T110 E5. I mean, that's a good point.
The main problem is that you can pen the frontally mouse upper plate.
Absolutely, and that's my point. That the pen
But the
value
thing is, you can
is
do the same with
outrageous.
F 100.
And then who else is there? I mean, Peter's saying that rockets should realistically probably turn slower so you can't hit around the corners. I mean, rockets in real life don't do 90 degrees round corners, to be fair. And
Oh, hi, Luke.
and you know, you have to consider, well, what's, you know, in real when they really brought the rockets out during the end of, you know, during World War II and in the 50s and 60s. They weren't wire-guided missiles. They were just point and shoot, realistically.
But to be fair, the concept of just having high penetration missile or just high damage, but no ability to control, but having a very slow shell.
If they change
High
the missiles
damage,
to rockets,
I see fine,
then,
but
yeah.
the leading system is too futuristic.
Well, that's a good point raised by Cody. Maybe the missiles should be changed to rockets rather than missiles, and then you don't need to basically drop the pen values because you don't then have the ability to shoot it round corners or whatever, because it's just a pointing shoot like the missiles were like the rockets were in real life.
If I can have a little bit of input here,
Of course.
that's one thing that I did notice in the realistic battles. when you're facing a Sheridan or a T92E1 and they don't know where to aim, you'll notice that a lot of the rockets actually do bounce if you wiggle just a little bit. I think if you take on a rocket, first of all, nerf the penetration. Second of all, maybe remove the highlights of the armor highlighting system purely for those ETGM tanks. I think that would make a pretty good balancing point because people will no longer know where to aim properly.
But maybe. I mean, but realistic mode is designed in that way. That's the thing. And obviously, when you come out of realistic mode, you get to see the hit skins, and you will see the hit skins even on the, with the missiles. So it does become a bit of an issue in that respect.
I'm sorry, I just laughed. I was driving a Jagdpanzer E100 and a T92E1. Very topical, has reported me for camping. While I was basically hammering his ass with HE for half the match.
Oh, we got a few more coming from the internet, from YouTube. Hamar Batluga says, the pen and the ability of the tank gets people frustrated. Well, yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, the pen frustrates me. The ability, not so much. Because it is a light tank, and both of them are meant to be pretty nippy. And to be honest with you, I don't mind the armor, even though it's spaced armor. I don't think they're invincible tanks.
Sheridan is okay, but the 92 are absurd.
No, I agree with that. The tier 9 missile tank is a little bit overpowered, in all honesty. And I'm not a big fan of the Sheridan, but I absolutely love the tier 9 T92. I think it's fantastic. I do think that's a broken tank, or is in Meaty words, it's a broke tank.
Yeah, like second game I played it, I bought it today. I literally point blank range bounced the shell of T30.
And you will with that tank. I mean, it's a fantastic tank. It is OP, that tank, I must admit. And I don't normally say a tank is OP because it's normally the player that's OP. But that tank has got everything going for it, to be fair.
True. And camo, don't forget camo.
But, I mean, like I said, I mean, the question was, do we really think that these tanks are going to break the game? Or are they manageable? I mean, and I think they're going to be manageable eventually.
Yeah, I agree.
I think once they're balanced, that people will actually like them. To both to deal with and to drive with.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think, there's a little bit of knee-jerk reaction. They've only just come out. The wargaming, yes, I mean, Graham has just said they need to have test ranks driven by average players. They do, Graham. It's not just 60% win rate players, to be fair. And I spoke to Fizzy, who was one of the testers. And both tanks, the Sheridan and the T92, weren't as good in the testing stage, funnily enough. They got buffed before they were released.
I'm going to send you a replay real quick.
So there is something in that. And what happens is, I mean, they give it a couple of months for it to calm down, and then they nerf them. So, for example, take the Progetto, the tier 10 Italian pan-European tank. During testing, that thing was a monster. But when it was released, they nerfed it before the release. Yet people still thought it was a monster. So.
Well, you do have the kind of tanks which are like pre-test absolute beasts and after the test are absolute beasts. Look at the WZ-121 GFT, for example. People cry out loud when they see one in the matchmaking.
This is more just a general question.
Yeah.
The 111.5A that they had in crates.
Yes.
I don't know anything about it.
It's balanced.
No, yeah, it's shit.
Because on PC,
It's IS-7 without spaced armor on the sides.
Well, let's
got very thin strength. Very thin.
Well, let's talk about that. I mean, I think we've tackled the missile tanks in fairness. So let's go on to that crate tanks and that particular tank. Now, I did a recent the video I did today. I mentioned that tank, funnily enough, and I was talking about crates because everybody bemoans crates, and I said, well, you know, it's great to moan about crates. I mean, I personally hate crates. I can't stand them. And when that tank came out, I said to myself, I will only buy 2 sets of crates, and I didn't get the tank. And I know.
Meanwhile, we were here selling you a stream, opening like 12
Correct,
of them.
correct. Which was 2
We warned
bundles.
you not to do it,
You
but
got
you
2
did.
bundles, and I bought the 2 bundles, as you know, on stream, and I didn't buy any more after that. And I didn't get the tank. And I've seen a lot of people. A lot of people have said the tank is OP or not balanced, and a lot of people have said actually it's pretty mediocre.
Yeah.
It is.
It's not great.
I haven't
fine,
seen a
it's fine.
single one because it was in a crate.
Yeah, I got it on my first crate. Sorry about that. A bit annoying that for everyone, but yeah, it's average. It's
Yeah.
average in my view.
But wait,
then again,
wait 6 weeks or less, and it's going to come out normally anyway.
Crates have always been a heated concept in the game. For one, you're looking at a mechanic which either divides it by the players. Either you have it in the shop, people will buy it, everyone will have it, matchmaking will be broken. Congratulations, fuck off. Or you do it in crates and people moan because nobody can get it because they're crates and you only have a low percentage.
Yeah, I really don't get then how many people did actually get the Smasher for a few days that it was out. It's absurd.
Well, I mean, my thing about crates is, I mean, forget the fact that it's tantamount to gambling. I mean, it's crates. Games love crates, and they love crates because they tempt you with the tank. So you buy the crate, you don't get it, so you continue buying it until you get it. Now, I would rather Wargaming said, look, here's a tank, because one of the arguments is they put it in crates so not everybody can get one, which I understand. So, overprice it. Instead of saying buy crates until you get the tank, just say, look, this is a tank, it's come out, and it's $110 or whatever.
Well, then you're going back to the same conversation like we're currently on with the Chimera, I believe it was.
Yeah, but then you'll
People
give it,
shouting, "Oh God, it's overpriced! Come on, don't buy it for that money."
But then you're given the choice, and the choice is, do I really want to spend $100 on a pixelated tank? Yes or no? But that's your
Well, I've
choice
done
then.
so before.
Quick point about the Chimera. It's basically you're paying £40 for a tier 8 for the super purchasing, but just like it's a super purchasing, for example, it's a tier 8 medium, which it does the same thing, and you can get it for half the price. So I don't see why they'd put it up for 40 quid.
Well, it's a new tank. I mean, Wargaming have a set pricing strategy at every tier for every tank. If you've read any of my posts on the forums, I've got one there that demonstrates for every tank, for every tier, what price they come into the game at, what they drop to the next time they come to the store, and so on and so on. You can guarantee that a tier 8 will always come into the store about £40 to £45 every single time. And there's a little bit of variation on that. Sometimes the better tanks will come in a little bit more, but they're always the same. And then the second time they'll come out and they'll be probably gold the next time round, and they're reduced. There's no, they don't pick and choose a tank and stick a high price on it. They have a fixed pricing strategy, and that's part of their business model.
Well, one of the things. Sorry to interrupt you there, Steve, because one of the things that you do in your economics is you actually say how much Wargaming value the tank.
Yeah.
With the amount of gold they will give you for when you sell it, which I think is fantastic. I mean, that really shows you how much Wargaming really think that tank is worth.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they used to be a bit more open about that. Now they're valuing the gold at the sale offer of the tank, and it goes down. But internally, Wargaming will be valuing the Chimera at about 7,500 gold. You are paying a premium on that tank in the first sale. That's not what it's worth. They are upping the prices already for that first offer. So if you want to be the first adopter of that tank, that first person with a shiny new tank, and you want to pay that premium, so be it. That's entirely up to you as the consumer. Or you can wait 6 months, 8 months, and probably get it for less than half of that.
Well,
Entirely your choice.
Well, that's the other thing. I mean, it's a good point you raise. I mean, to be fair, I've dropped the ball recently because I've been doing other things. But I will start putting Stubbo's economics back into my Discord. But he is also on the EU server with his economics. And if I remember rightly, you also point out in those economics when the tanks first came out and what the price drop is over the period of time.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. The history's there with every tank, so everyone can see what it's coming down to. They can look at all the other tanks. I've even got a tracker that will show you when a tank last came out, what it's and what it came out at, so you can work out when it's going to next come out again.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got predictors on there for that. So you don't have to go and buy that shiny new tank. You can look at the list of other tanks that you might that will be coming up within the next few weeks, months. I mean, yeah, there's more premiums coming. We've got the Carnarvon Action X due soon and stuff like that as well. But there's
plenty. Mark 1.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well,
so all those sort of things will be coming.
And Graham Parsons on YouTube is saying it's a good point. The T55A is a prime example. It's almost being given away right now.
And the Kampfpanzer 70, don't forget that thing.
Yep. Yep, indeed. I mean, Tier9's a classic example of how to get something right in Blitz. It's probably the most balanced tier in the game. Just a shame they can't be as balanced with the other tiers. But that's good because it's nice to have somewhere to go to actually have good quality games. It's just a shame they don't do tournaments that are dedicated to Tier 9.
Well, no, you automatically run in with Tier 10.
I mean, interestingly, getting back to crates or not crates, at the end of the day, we're not forced to purchase the crates. And I understand the marketing and I understand all that sort of stuff. But as I said in my recent video, it's human nature. It's like a gambler. A gambler, when he loses, will continue playing until he wins. And it's the same with the crates. And I would just, all I would prefer is Wargaming to drop the crates and just say, look, if you want to buy this tank now, take the Chimera. You want to buy the Chimera now. Not the Chimera, the WZ. If you want to buy the WZ now, it's going to cost you $150. And then you have a choice to buy it or don't buy it. And if you don't buy it, and only a couple of people buy it, then Wargaming's aim, which was to get money and to limit the amount of tanks there are in the game, that particular tank, has worked. And it stops people saying crates. But people will then whinge about price. And this is the thing. But the fact of the matter is, let's be honest, guys, Wargaming is a business. I mean, they're not doing it for the good of their hearts. They're doing it to earn money. It swings in roundabouts.
I mean, crates probably found their way into the game just because Wargaming realised from the economics in the early years that they weren't making as much money just selling gold for people to buy premiums. But at the end of the day, exactly. I mean, they had to find a way of generating more.
People are always going to find something to whinge about, so it doesn't matter what they do.
Though I think that if you put some sort of guarantee on crates, for example with a loyalty system, that people would whine less about them. But that's just a personal opinion.
Well, well, that's another thing. I mean, because quite a few players, especially if they've been playing the game a long time, to be perfectly honest with you, they don't want gold, they don't want the boosters, and they don't want the credits, and they don't need the XP. Now, what happens is when you buy a crate, forget the concept that you lose out. If you spend $10 on a crate, you will get what Wargaming consider to be $10 worth of in-game goods, be that gold or premium account, avatars or whatever. They value everything. And I mean, if you go into the store now, you will see you can buy avatars. Simple. Now, that's great if you're Wargaming, because in-game goods cost them nothing in real terms. Don't think it does. Credits in gold cost them nothing.
It costs man-hours.
It costs man-hours, yes, but in real terms, but in real terms, it doesn't cost them anything to give stuff away like that. And what they do with the crates is, it's a balance. You spend, say, $50 for one pack of crates. What they give you back is valued by them at $50, but it doesn't cost them $50. And they do tell you what the drop chances are of each and every tank. And the WZ was 2%. It was a 2% drop chance.
Do you know what the Mark 6 drop chance was?
It was 2%, 5%, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah.
Whereas the
I'd have to look
T20,
it up.
the T22 was about 2% as well.
Because I got the Mark 6 in crates, and I can't remember how
Yeah.
many I bought, but I don't think it was too many.
Well, some of them,
Well-
for example, the Badger was only 2%.
Yeah, they seem to be standardising a little bit more back to 5% because I think the lower drop rates were not very. I don't think that was fair or
No.
right.
And I think that the worst one was the Scorpion G at 1%. I think that was the worst drop
that
chance.
brings up another point. The if you have a Amazon device, all the prices are at least 30% lower on there.
Well,
than
Stubbo
they are in
mentions
any
that all
other
the time.
store.
Yeah,
Amazon
but
coins. If you've got an Amazon account and you got Amazon coins, you'll get everything a lot cheaper.
Yeah, that's all. It's in all my articles on the forums. But yeah, I mean, you mentioned the Scorpion. It was quite funny because they put it on Amazon. All the crates were free, so I bought 700 of them.
Well, there you go.
Unfortunately, that was the only time they picked up. Yeah, I mean, even 5% isn't great. I actually wrote an emulator to emulate to create events just so I can model them and put those stats up on the forums as well. Typically, you end up paying about 2 to 3 times the value of if they'd have offered the tank to store in store if you chase it. So
Wow.
if it's a tier 8, you'll expect to pay about £100 to £120 for a tier 8 tank if you chase it in crates. For tier 10, 150 to 200.
Wow.
And that's what it'll typically come out to on average if everyone chases the crates.
Real.
Pretty much, yes.
Crikey.
Then again, you do have examples like, remember Pentafly with the Amex 30B? How much he dropped, I still didn't get the thing.
Well,
Yeah.
but again, it's the look of the draw because, I mean, I did get the AMX 30 in the second crate, to be fair.
Yeah, and I mean, I know people. I mean, like my simulator demonstration. I know I've heard of people buying the 1+1 crates and getting the tank in both of them. I mean, that's the nature of a random number generator.
No, that happened to
those
me
things will
on
happen.
on my North American garage. That happened to me. I logged in when the T22 was in a crate. I bought 2 crates and I got the T22 twice.
Yep.
Hey,
Yep,
Shell,
absolutely.
how you doing? So it does happen. It does happen. But it's not that often, to be fair, because I also bought another crate tank in America on my North American server, and I didn't get it. I didn't get the tank. So it does happen.
Yeah, you're just going to need to be prepared. And like you said, I think elsewhere, set yourself an amount that you're willing to spend to get that tank, and don't exceed it because
That's what I advise. I mean, you know, crates, love them or loathe them. I think we as players need to be more disciplined and set ourselves a limit. And you know, don't get me wrong, guys. Whilst you may see some of these tanks on YouTube, and you know they look super shit art. Sometimes the players are playing them super shit art. Don't forget that. Don't just think it's the tank.
Yeah, and that goes for new tanks coming into the game. Like you said, that if you look at say the stats on the Carnarvon Action X and even the Chimera before it launched, the win rates on Blitz stars are always up in the 65 to 70%. But that's because of who's playing them.
Correct.
Not because the tanks are that great.
That's correct. I mean, you know, you can put some of the best players in some of the worst tanks, they'll still make them look good, and you can put some of the worst players in some of the most OP tanks, and they'll make them look rubbish. So you know, there's always give and take with reviews.
The game is paid for advantage. What can you say?
Well, there you go. It's a valid point.
Also, what did I miss? I wasn't here.
Oh, we're just talking about crates. And I think we've covered that topic. I mean, crates, they're here to stay until the law changes, guys. And no one's holding a gun to anybody's head. And I would just listen to what Stubbo says in his economics. Hold back that temptation to go out there and buy them straight away. They will
Don't
come
worry,
around
we'll try
again.
next time on stream, if you get the need for it, we'll say no.
We did that.
Yeah, just all
he
you
didn't
got to
listen.
do is just wait, bide your time, and the tank will come around again, and it won't be in a crate. Simple. And that removes all the problems of I've just spent $150 on crates and got bugger all, because it will come out for $30 and you'll get it straight away because you'll buy it, or it come out for 15,000 gold or something. Either way, hold fire, guys.
Basically, after that stream, you got reborn.
Moving on then. We've done crates, we've done missiles. Let's have a look at the next big
Avatar.
bugbear.
Avatars and especially the 800.
Oh, I was gonna say let's talk about the MM, because that seems to be everybody's major gripe all of the time, every time.
Avatars.
We'll go for avatars then. So who's starting off avatars? What's the issue?
Well, nothing really, but
Love them, hate them.
I just don't get their system of charging 800 gold for an avatar.
That's the perfect example of how a company like Wargaming should be monetizing the game. They should be providing. I mean, attachments are overpriced, yes, but more of those, more camo, more things that don't change the tank stats, that you can decorate your tank with, personalize it, that you are willing to spend that money on. That's absolutely the way that I think everyone would be more than happy for Wargaming to monetize the game.
I agree, and I mentioned that in one of my videos a long time back. I think it was the State of the Game video, where one of the discussions was, if Wargaming were to say, look, you pay 5,000 gold, and you can put whatever camo on your tank, whatever camo you want, as long as it sits in Wargaming. We've already set the parameters. If you go into the camos, all the parameters are set anyway, and I think people would buy that. And
I think they could do more with the attachments, to be honest.
Yeah,
no, I agree. And avatars. Somebody mentioned love them or hate them. Okay, yeah, I get
they're
that.
just weird.
But I don't. Again, I mean, I don't buy any of the avatars. I get them, I don't buy them. Every time I open a bloody crate, I get an avatar of some description. And I'm lazy, and I don't go into the avatar thing that often. I go into it when my avatar that I once had is gone. But I get the point, but Stubbo's right. I think avatars in little things like that, and not the boosters, but I think avatars and things that you can decorate either you or your tank with is a money earner.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, I watched.
How can people buy it?
Yeah, I mean, I watched a lot of the streams at Christmas from World of Tanks players. I don't play World of Tanks on the PC, but I do enjoy watching their streams. And part of their Christmas event, they have lots of these amazing schemas for the tanks to put machine guns and racks and all sorts of things around the tank.
They're called styles.
Yeah, styles. That's right. Yeah, and that's the sort of thing that I would pay money for. You get your favourite tanks. I've got my favourite camos that I run on some of my best tanks and things like that. And yes, we've got the legendary ones, and you pay a bit more. And I think we're happy to do those sorts of things because we like something flashy, something that looks a bit nice, a bit of bling, and it just doesn't change the stats.
I agree with that. If I was given the option of, say, dropping, I don't know, $10 or 5,000 gold and sticking 4 machine guns on my tank, which doesn't change the parameters of the tank at all, I'd do it if I was in that way. If I could decorate my tank to the way I'd like my tank decorated to set it apart, then what's not to like? Of course.
Yeah.
Well, the best attachment they ever brought out was the Sheridan's, the flashlight. I hoped it would have bind the opposition, but no.
It did look good, I have to say.
I mean, Martin
And you have a
Craig
laser
on
pointer.
YouTube is saying, if you bring the price of camos up, even double them, players will still buy the camos by the ton load, and you could get rid of crates completely. And I don't disagree with him there. As you know, lots of players. There are some players who don't bother with camos. I get that, but as you just heard what Stubbo said, you know, he's got certain camos that he likes, and he uses them on his tanks. So I've got certain camos that I like that I use on certain tanks, and everybody's the same in that respect. A lot of people are like that. So capitalize on the camos realistically. The same with the avatars. I mean, if people want to buy the avatars, then it's personal to them and it makes them feel special. And I have no problem with that. I have no problem with that at all. Plus, if you've got like, if you're Stubbo and you stick on your "I've maxed out all my Raz medals" avatar, then you can focus that player immediately.
I'll get spotted. Try hard.
So that's a good thing. Nobody pays attention to those things.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, I mean, Layla Azura on YouTube, along with the tank killer with no name, is saying, you know, they would pay to personalize their tanks in my own graphics, just like the tank men did in real life, as long as it doesn't change the parameters of the tank. Then what's the issue? And Layla's saying, if Wargaming included the stars from Wotb PC, that would be really good. And it would be. It would be fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I know what Wargaming's argument will be is maintaining the frame rates and the performance on all the devices. I mean, they've had the same discussions about things like marks of excellence and stuff like that in the past and stuff. So, but I mean, this game's been going for 5 years now.
Yes.
And I mean, device performances are increasing. I think in the last 3 or 4 updates, I think they started to retire the game on some lower end devices.
Yes, they did. Some of the iPhones, lower end iPhones, they did.
Yeah, indeed.
And stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think we have an expectation of our player base that we want the game to look better, to run faster, and that's an opportunity for them. I think that becomes an opportunity for them.
Laggy. That's if it runs smoothly, then. But if it goes too much to get laggy, nah. That's why I like also Blitz.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of difference between the visual content, which is rendered on your local machine, versus the data that goes back and forth to the server that causes the lag. So the looks and the feel of things are where they should be able to make use of the power of the devices without affecting the performance of the.
Well, yeah, I mean,
we can only have these discussions.
Devices are getting better and better all the time, and there's a lot of players who play on the PC. I mean, take for example, Every Good Name Is Taken and people like that. In Ting, they play on the PC, and if you're playing on a PC, then it's not difficult to migrate what you've got in World of Tanks PC. I'm not saying you have to migrate it fully, because that's what World of Tanks PC is for. Obviously.
Yeah.
But there are bits you can bring across.
Yeah, and it's even entirely possible to set different graphic levels in the game, so people with different devices have a different graphical experience.
Absolutely. In fact, the Shell Magnet has just said on YouTube, an in-game camo editor selection would be fantastic, and I agree. It would. It would be awesome. And I'm sorry, but I know of games whereby you do get to pick and choose colours and things like that. That doesn't affect the parameters. Just set it for the normal parameters. We know what the normal parameters are for the camos, like 2% here or whatever. You don't have to, give you anything massive. I think it's just something they could consider. And I think people would buy that in the shed load.
Yeah, I think we'll press Wargaming on that at Tank Fest again this year. I think they really need to. I know it's been talked about before, and I don't think they've really taken it seriously. But I think we do need to push that.
No, I agree. And this is the idea with doing these type of things. The idea I've got with this sort of live stream is to get these ideas, because I'm hoping to get to Tank Fest this year. And the more somebody wrote on my YouTube earlier a comment saying that Wargaming doesn't listen. Well, in fairness, we don't press them as hard as we should as a community. Individually, yes.
Not to mention, they can't listen to 10,000 people at once.
Exactly. They can't. You know, and if
why
you
we
go
need
onto their Discord, there are
representatives.
always people moaning and whinging about everything, literally everything. And what I think is required is like anything. If you get together as a group, you do carry more weight. And I'm not saying that group has to argue every day, but as Stubbo pointed out there, you know, if you've got a group, not the whole group is going to go to Tankfest, but at least one of that group will get to Tankfest, and it gives that person the gravitas to press good wargaming on certain things. Simple.
I think one of the small problems with that at the moment is that Wargaming only give that forum to their select YouTubers to
That is
actually have
true.
that discussion.
That is true, and I don't agree with. I generally don't agree with that. Not because the select group here are, you know, in Wargaming's pocket, because I can assure you most of them aren't.
Oh no,
That is straight up. But they should open it out to a bigger circle, in my view, not just the select few. But anyway.
and we're only obviously the EU community. Obviously, they've got
Absolutely.
other communities as well. So it's not just us feeding into this. That the Asian
Absolutely.
and the Russian, American.
Well, their biggest player base is the Russian server. So a lot of what happens in the game is influenced by what the Russian server says, because it's massive. It's a huge server. So, you know, and we tend to forget that, as you quite rightly point out there, Stubble. We tend to forget that we're not the only server, and we're not the biggest server either. To be fair, we're the second biggest. We're not the biggest.
Yeah.
Fight for rights.
Absolutely. So, I mean, we dealt with avatars there. So let's do it now. Let's talk about MM, the biggest bugbearer for everybody. Now,
I hate Tier 7.
Now, let's just, I'm going to put my view out there first. I did a video today where I said MM, okay. And I've now got to the point whereby I don't really care. Because if your team is absolutely pants, then all you can do is your best. And you can try and shine. You're not going to win every game. And I can assure you, your MM is not going to be stacked against you all the time. The problem that this game has, that we as players tend to forget, when you're in random battles, it really is random. You could be paired with 6 complete and utter muppets who have only bought the game yesterday, who only downloaded the game yesterday, and they've bought their way up immediately. Or alternatively, you can be paired with 6 raid players, for example. Although I don't think that's a good thing anymore. But you could, in theory, you could. And, you know, I've been on teams, only yesterday I did a live stream, I've been on teams where there are fantastic players and we're playing even better players. And we lost. There was a platoon from Imor, and we lost because those 2 players were outstanding and they carried the team. But all you can do is your best. And I'm trying to understand what people's gripe is with MM. So here's the question.
Same.
When MM becomes an issue, is it only when you lose or is it when you win? So when you win, do you sit there and say, my God, the MM was so shit?
I've had this conversation the last few days with Debbie Does Dallas on our team.
Okay.
He always complains about all of the players on his team having 40%, 43% win rate. I said, why do you look? Why do you look?
Yeah.
I mean, you play the game. If I come out and I've done the same, at least the damage of my own hit points of my tank, then I've contributed to the team. I'm looking to do more than that.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I can ask is to put in my contribution. I've got no control over who the rest of my team are and what they're doing.
Same.
Yeah.
You can, like you say, you can only do your best.
You can really do your role as a team, but if your team falls apart, it's not your fault.
No.
That's my motto, and that's how I play. That's why I'm still here, even though I'm a free-to player.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, just jumping in. Silent Cougar raises a point. It's an interesting point. He's saying MM is a nightmare because the problem is new players buying into higher tiers. Now, my question is is that the
That's always been
MM,
the-
or is that because we changed the parameters so wargaming can now rush people through the tiers?
Yeah, that's not a fault of MM.
Because I think that's two different arguments, personally.
Absolutely.
And I
Yeah.
think the MM argument is only an argument that's raised when we lose. It's never raised when we win.
That depends.
To be fair, if I get 6 defeats in a row, then I start to think what's happening. But most of the time, I don't really pay attention.
Yeah, but you don't look when you have 20 or 30 wins in a row. I mean,
Well-
and that's the point. It's confirmation bias.
Well-
You recognise a scenario and you validate your own hypothesis based on what you find, but you only check it in the situations where it's not in your favour.
Well, this is why I like doing this. I mean, Funnier on YouTube and Layla Azor have both said, actually, you'd be surprised. We moan about winning as well. Because when the enemy team dies too fast, it's boring.
It's no fun.
No, I agree. And that is an interesting point. Because, and Layla says the same. Yeah, I think about it sometimes when I look at the MM and the tank list. Even though I win, I was like, well, that was crap MM. And it didn't help. Now, that's an interesting point because, like I said, most of the time it comes across that we only moan when MM seems to be against us, not for us. So I like that, where the players are saying, look, no, it's not true. When we go out there and it's a 7-0 and the other side put up no resistance, it's boring and it ruins the game. Now that I understand.
But is it Wargaming's obligation to give us good battles every time?
No.
But,
No, exactly.
No, I agree with that.
The goal
No, it's not.
ultimately is to have fun.
I mean,
Yeah.
They're providing the environment for us to have fun, but they can't control who's on and what they're doing with it.
no.
Yes,
And
but,
I mean, this brings out the
also-
debate that's raged for a long time. If you want a balanced MM, you do ratings battles. But I don't find that balanced at all, to be honest with you.
To be fair, I ignore even ratings battles. What's the even point only getting some camo and maybe some points on statistics? Like, I have no reason to play realistic. Maybe because even gets slightly more credits, but it's gonna be the same thing as regular matchmaking.
The only reason why I play ratings is to get the camera.
Like, really, camo. It's not that. Like, I don't find it worthy that is so much, or because only reason maybe you should like play ratings is to get somehow in top 10 and get some gold from end of the season. But I'm not a super unicum that can do that, so really what's the point? Only then in those eyes of super unicums that always go and compete for main prizes, I'm just like the XP and points booster.
Yeah.
Really.
But I do
feel
think,
like ratings need some improvements.
right.
Make it-
Yeah, I do think ratings isn't what it says on the tin, to be honest with you. If it was truly what it said on the tin, then you would go in if you were Diamond League and you'd only play Diamond League players. You wouldn't play those calibrating. And vice versa. I mean, when I was in Platinum League, etc., I would generally get put into a battle with bronze, silver, gold, or calibrating. Now, that's not a balanced MM in ratings. And ratings is meant to be what it says on the tin.
I think that's a problem with the number of players that are online at the time.
And I agree with that, because ratings really hasn't been embraced, I don't think.
No.
Ratings doesn't even have much love, really, except if you're unicorn for getting some gold. Like, why do you even play it? Only to just have something shining on your statistics.
Yeah, but I think the idea behind ratings was Wargaming's attempt to say, look, okay, we've heard what you've said about MM, and this is going to be balanced. And we just, as a player base, we just didn't embrace it.
Because it's not balanced. That's the thing.
Yeah, but it's not
But it
balanced.
will never
It's
be
not
balanced. That's the
Yeah,
point.
Yes.
Well, not without the players playing it. It would be more balanced if there were a lot of players playing it. If it was the only game mode, for example, it would probably be more balanced. But then I mean, yeah. And I mean, the whole thing about rewards for it. I know I've listened to, say, Droodles lately complaining that a lot of tier 10 tanks should be reward tanks for the best players in the game and things, and that's going to create uproar in the
Yeah,
community if they
I
start
agree
doing
with
that.
that. Like,
No, I
why
agree. I
should
agree
them
with you there.
premiums exist?
They've done that before, and it created turmoil. So, for example, I'm one of those guys that got the M60 for gratis, and
Oh,
boy,
yeah.
did that create bad blood in the game when they did that. Same with the guys who got the IS6 Fearless. That also caused bad blood in the game. And rewarding players with a tank for being the best in the game, I don't think is fair, because it then brings in an elitist attitude and basically says, you know, this is what it is, guys. Now, for the best players in the game, generally there's the Twister tournament, etc., where they can win proper stuff. That's the way I see it. And I don't mind you rewarding the best players in the game who get to the diamond or platinum leagues or whatever league with camos or reductions, but not tanks. I don't think that's right.
No. I think people look at World of Tanks on the PC and try to use that as a benchmark, but we're not as a community tuned to the game in the same way that the PC community is. Yeah,
No.
It's meant to be a quick fix game, not an elitist or.
But just out of interest, Shao Magnet has just said on YouTube he couldn't play my M60 for a year. The abuse was real. Yes, it was. It was absolutely terrible. I couldn't play mine for a long time.
Well, yes, because you literally get gold spammed or just hated by the entire match.
Well, it was awful. I mean, you would get abuse in the game, and they would follow you into the chat, and it was terrible because you got this tank for gratis, and everybody was like, "You shouldn't deserve it," blah blah blah, and it was horrendous. It was totally awful, and that's what would happen if you introduced this sort of concept. You would get people facing a lot of abuse, and I've seen it. I mean, I get abuse. It's very rare that I roll out in it nowadays, but the amount of abuse you get when you roll out in the Kennyotsu, for Pete's sake. I mean, you just get
You know what will
spammed.
happen. Don't worry. Remember the New Year stream?
Yeah, exactly. It happens. It happens.
No, there was no verbal abuse, but we just rushed you.
But you know, you expect that in a Kennyotsu, to be honest with you, which is where I very rarely play it. You know, you only play it for giggles in countings and stuff.
Yeah,
But the M60, when we initially got that, it was a proper tier 10. It was the only tier 10 premium, I believe, at the time. And it was a proper tier 10. And boy, you had to put it in the garage, and you couldn't use it. You just couldn't use it because they would just rip into you awfully. So no, I don't agree with this sort of them and us attitude. We already have events and things for the professional esports players and for the top guys in the game. We already have something for them. I don't think you need to give them more, because it doesn't mean all it does is bring distaste to the game, because only a few players are at that level. And you know, no matter how many times you play or how often you play, the chances of getting up to those elite levels sometimes it's not achievable by a lot of players, and it just sows discontent. So, but that's MM. So, I mean, I don't think MM is utterly broken. I think the MM. I mean, we'll never know what the real MM system is. It's a secret, but that's normal. But what I do think is that the MM is a struggle, because we are losing experienced players and longer term players, and new players are always coming in. So you're always going to have this MM that tries to balance tanks with tanks, and formations with formations, because you can't have 4 TDs or 4 heavies in a game, blah blah blah. So it's not it's not easy for the MM to do, and it doesn't pick against your win rate. It picks against the tank and the tier that you're in, is my understanding.
And if I recall, sometime in the past, they tried out matchmaking where they tried to match the lineup, so the same amount of heavies and mediums on both sides.
Yeah.
And it just turned into boring gameplay, and they got rid of it for that
Yeah, that's
reason.
what I understood.
Yeah. So I'm actually more than happy with the matchmaking. I think it's perfectly fair.
Mm-hmm.
They did a great job.
Yeah, I just wish people wouldn't go round looking at the other team's stats. I wish they weren't available to look at from the battle results screen, because that just promotes people looking for a reason to blame the fact that they lost the game.
Yeah.
They're using other players as an excuse for their own potential lack of ability.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, I look every now and again at the players on my team, but I look just as often when I win when I lose.
It's same here. I mean, like I said, if you're in a team where you can see that the players are not very good or they're struggling, or whatever, well, I mean, if you're so confident in your own ability, help them, advise them. Don't shout at them. Don't call them idiots. Don't call them noobs. Don't tell them to delete the game. Help them out. Tell them, advise them. If you're more experienced, I mean, that's the idea of team gameplay. And if they don't listen, then just have a gentle chat with them after the game, saying, "Mate, you don't know what you're doing. I'm trying to help you, and you're ignoring it. Listen, and I'll make you a better player." You just don't need to shout at people in the game. You're a team. It's not you against 7. It's 7 against 7. At the end of the day.
The group project.
So, but let's move on to what else can we talk about? I mean, we've done missiles, we've done
Cosmetics.
we've done crates, we did avatars.
Cosmetics.
Which one?
What's happened to Skate? Who knows what's happened to Skate?
I have no idea what's happened to Skate. Actually, I've not seen anything from Skate for a long time.
To be honest, I just think that life caught up to him.
Yeah, he hasn't done anything since November. He's not played probably about 2 or 3 games. He's not put out a YouTube. So, hey, fair play to him if he decides to jack it all in. That's
absolutely. I mean, if maybe marriage life is just too good.
yeah. I think. This is another thing really about the YouTubing community. That Bushka's obviously got his PUBG now, and that's his little money making exercise. That we need some new blood on YouTube, I think, as well.
Well, the thing is, we are getting new blood. Look at Fudget, Drudel, Smith, Littlefinger.
Yeah.
It's there.
Yeah, they just don't seem to get the same airplay. I don't know why.
Well, it's good question, and this is why I thought about this, because it's not. The problem with YouTube, and I said it in my latest video, I mean, look, guys, YouTube is flooded with Blitz content channels now, to be perfectly honest with you. And, people say to me, "Oh, I'm starting my channel, how can I grow my subs?" And you've got to find that niche, because let's be fair, everybody plays replays. And everybody started doing reviews and blah, blah, blah. And, if I review a tank, my reviews are generally different to Meads' reviews or Drudel's reviews, because I play the game differently to them. My skill levels are different, so my views on the tank are different. Does that help the player base? Maybe, maybe not. But I think what the YouTubers that are up and coming need to do is, forget community contributor status and all that, but what I think the YouTubers need to do is try to engage more with the player base and listen more to them. That's why I'm doing this, because I think gone are the days whereby the YouTubers just should put a video on there and say, buy this tank's great, or don't buy this tank, it's shit. But to say, guys, look, instead of me harping on about what I think about the game, this and that, these are my views. What do you guys think? Because I'm not right. I may be a YouTuber, a small one at that, but my view isn't set in stone. It's not crystal. It's not, you must take my view. It doesn't work that way.
Humanly approach us without wanting us to please subscribe and stuff. That's great. Well,
That's the thing. Getting into the YouTube scene in the higher scene, kid you not, is pretty hard on its own.
Yes, it is. It's not easy.
Especially when you look at the YouTubers that already exist. Meaty, Skate, Crazy, Pantov, Martin Dogger, Bushka. They're big boys.
Yeah.
Try to get in between those. It's near impossible.
No, it is. It's very difficult. It's very difficult. And like all things with YouTube, you've got to find a niche. You've got to find something that everybody's not doing. I mean, if I just did replays every day, then all I'm doing is competing with Meadsy, who puts replays out every day. And then
Literally.
And then you're only going to be interested in the replays coming from, you know, those big damage, massive damage replays. So you've got to find your own sort of niche within YouTube. Like, for example, Soft Rescue's channel is fantastic. It's slightly different, it's slightly quirky. Every Good Name does a lot of streaming, which I love. I think that's different and that's quirky as well. And you've got to sort of...
And you make streams
Yeah.
for big boys.
And Rolling Swarm, I mean, Rolling Swarm's got almost 5,000 subs, and let's be honest, all he does, and he's absolutely the king at doing it, because I've tried it, I've tried commentating on tournaments, and it's not easy. That's his niche. He is the tournament king. And that's why he's got so many subs. And that he did a tournament today, a realistic tournament for Tier 10 in Asia. And, you know, that's he's made that his own, which is, I totally agree with him there. He has made it his own. And that's what the YouTubers should be doing. But I also believe, and I said it in my latest video, that forget the fact you're a YouTuber, if Wargaming have made you a community contributor, then one of my biggest bugbears is the lack of training. There is a lack of training. Now, I'm not saying that you've got to jump in as Wargaming and say for the first 100 battles you're just going to be doing training, because that's stupid and nobody's going to enjoy that. But like I said in my video, if I go into my missions, I get to watch 5 videos on games I am not interested in, and I get gold and a mission.
All day, every day.
Now, I get that basically Wargaming get money for advertising. I get that. But it wouldn't take much for somebody to turn around and say, look, you watch 3 videos on crappy games that you don't want, but can you also watch 2 videos that one of our community contributors has made, like Martin Dogger or Meadsy or whatever, and you get some gold as well and also complete your mission? What's the difficulty in that? I don't know.
The tutorial system is already lacking everything.
Yeah, I guess the biggest problem is the language barrier, because we assume everyone speaks English, and the videos that come out are tied to us. That they've got to they'd have to put out videos in every language going.
Yeah, that's also true.
They can just put translation, like put the option to translate, ask someone to do it.
No, just talking about Martin Dogger, he's just jumped into YouTube. Hello, Martin. And he's saying that basically... Oh, well, firstly, just want to go through what Martin's saying. One, he's spot on. They've proposed the idea to Wargaming regarding tutorials multiple times. So that's clear. So everybody can stop bitching about that now. We can stop moaning about it. It's been proposed and they're not doing it. So it's still got to be forced into them, and they'll get it eventually. But the other thing he's saying about YouTubers is, look, people want to watch tank reviews, they want to see big games, and they want to see high scores. And I get that, and I understand that, and I totally agree with that. And yes, you know, the YouTubers are going to continue doing that. But as I said earlier, you know, Martin has got his own niche as well. He did his own niches where he does lots of different videos on different things. Meadsy had his niche. You know, I was doing my sort of niche with the military history type stuff. And, you know, so the YouTubers have got to find a balance, realistically, to engage the audience. And, you know, it's not just about selling wargaming stuff, because I can assure you, none of the I don't know about the likes of certain YouTubers, but I know that majority of them, like Martin, like Meadsy, they don't get paid a single penny from wargaming guys, regardless of what people think. They're not in their pocket.
That's the funny. Why do people even think that?
Oh, people do, and they think it because the guys get because they've got press accounts. They get access to the tanks earlier, and they get inside information about the tanks before they're released to enable them to do the reviews. And if you watch their reviews correctly, some of them will say the tank's crap, don't get it. So they're not Wargaming's pocket, so to speak. They are fair and reasonable reviewers. Doesn't mean to say you have to agree with them. And no one's saying you have to agree with them.
Yep.
I think for me, what's missing, because I must admit, I've got bored of watching all the replay videos, and if they're players' replays, I just don't bother now. But it's just the general. Well, this is what it's really like to play Blitz, and this is. Oh, I know Aminet's made a point in the past of trying to look at players' videos and say, what could you have done better? How could you have actually improved your game? That's completely devoid. There's none of that I've seen. Taking real players' replays, why did we lose the game? What went wrong? What am I doing wrong? And actually looking at players and saying, well, okay, this is how you could improve the game. I think that's missing from the game. I know it's all very well asking gaming to do it.
Yeah.
But YouTubers have got that ability to do it ourselves as well, and put that content out. Just take those average games, the wins, the losses, what worked well, what didn't work well, and just bring those out.
No, that's an interesting. I mean, I tried to do that with some of the replays, saying, well, maybe the guy should have fired HE there, or he should have loaded this, or he should have done that. But that's a good point. I mean, Aminet did do that, and I thought it was quite successful when she was doing that. And you're right, a lot of people don't do that, but I think a lot of the YouTubers are worried about doing that because they come across as being preachy or whatever. And I'll give you an example. I mean, I put a video on the T92 out on the NA server on my NA part, and the first comment back was, "Don't listen to this idiot. He's only got a 50-odd% win rate. He hasn't got a clue what he's talking about. The guy sucks." I'm like, wow, okay. And I wrote
That's what I don't like.
And I wrote back and said, "You're right, I have, but I got a 71% win rate in North America. What's that? What does that say? That everybody in North America is rubbish, and I'm better? Of course it doesn't. I mean, come on,
No,
it's ridiculous." And it's a daft argument. And all I've ever said, and it's in my write-up about me, I'm an average player. I'm not good. I'm not bad. I am average. And the majority.
You're almost great.
The majority of the player base is average. Simple. And I've always tailored my videos to average players. I've never tailored it to the super duper shit up players, because I can't tell them anything. I mean, they'll make their own minds up. It's clearly up to them.
Oh, Bridget, you have managed to summon Martin Dogger. Congratulations.
Oh, Martin's around. Martin's always been around. Yeah, this is a good Ferdinand game, actually, Martin. The replay playing on the background is fantastic. So that's YouTubers. What else do you want to? What else have you got to throw out? What is it you love about the game?
To be fair, even though I dislike the huge grinds that every line is about, I think 15 million almost to do. But I have to say, some tanks stock grind need a little bit more love. Like currently, I'm doing KV4 and oh god, the gun and the million weak spots I have. Not so enjoyable. I hope soon, when I max out everything, it will be better.
Well, one of the things I love, and I was reading it on the EU forums, and I'm not the only one. I think it's absolutely I think realistic mode is fantastic. I really do. Yeah. I really do enjoy it. I think it's a true challenge, and I'm always disappointed when they take it off. To be honest with you, and I really wish they would keep it.
But that's the thing. We only have 2 real game modes, being Encounter and Supremacy. And we don't have the variety anymore. Well, if we have Mad Games or Uprising or Realistic, it just brings that little new thing back to the game.
Oh, I must admit, I loved Uprising. I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, it was good fun.
Was an absolutely brilliant gameplay, and I absolutely adored that mode because it was a game. It was a game. It was a stupid game where you died 7 times. It was fantastic 3 times. It was fantastic, and I loved every minute of it. And I love realistic mode because it brings that balance of, okay, maybe it is a little bit of a tank sim, and I love that, and I love that variety. And it's a break from the randomness, and it's a break from ratings, etc., etc. And I do love it.
Like, to be fair, only problem with these game modes that they're event-based. Like, we don't get them that often, which is kind of sad.
Well, I think it does overload their servers. I think that's the reason why we only get them for a short period, to be honest.
Keep them
I don't
new.
know what's
I
the
can
reason.
agree with that.
But
I
I would love them
again,
to be permanent. It'd be great.
Like,
mean,
every
again,
or
it's
certain day.
it's probably going to dilute the queues trying to get into regular battles for those doing the grinds. I mean, it's the only potential downside. But yeah, I mean, wargaming, they've got to be wanted. Of course, they want to grow the player base. They want more players playing. So that's has got to be as much of a draw for them as it is potentially a challenge to balance it. If there aren't that many players playing, I guess that's the difficulty of implementing those things. However good something is, there's always a downside as well sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, Martin's just dropped in on YouTube again and said, problem with the game modes, these game modes that we're talking about, is that they give you XP for the regular game. And yeah, I mean, that's a fair point. They do give you XP. So, you know, it shouldn't give you the XP. It should be, I mean, you shouldn't get the XP, realistically, not in those game modes. The credits, yes.
Those credits. Yeah, also, even though I like the concept of getting new tanks and variety getting, but still, it's not nice that almost every update is about
Yeah, let me just. I've got to. I'm in Dubai, and all of a sudden it's got really dark. I'm just going to turn the lights on. Hang on. People are in danger of not seeing me, which is not a bad thing, I don't think. But
Casually roasting yourself.
Yeah, but what else do we? I mean, because we always say what we don't like. We always say we don't like MM, we don't like crates, we don't like this, we don't like that. Well, what is it we do like? What is it that we like about the game?
I like the community, personally.
Yes.
I love the gameplay of its own and the strategies that you can actually put into it.
I mean, I waited in eager anticipation for this game for 2 reasons. One, I like tanks and all things military in that respect. But 2, I also like, you know, when you're stressed, go out there and blow shit up. And that's the thing.
Yeah.
And I just love blowing shit up. And if you die whilst blowing shit up, it doesn't matter. It's a game. I haven't died in real life. It's just my pixelated tank's dead.
Yeah, I'll go way back. Battle Zone.
Not even know the crew. How does it look like?
Yeah, I mean, tank games go way back for me. Battle Zone, the old Microprose games, M1A, 1 Abrams.
Yeah.
Love all that.
You know, and I love, don't get me wrong. I mean, yeah, exactly. Layla Dazor is saying, I love the tanks and the community. I mean, that's it. I mean, I love the. I mean, I used to play when I first started this game. I played it at work, and I would play it at work because I was pissed off, and you know, I was frustrated, and I'd jump into the game and blow stuff up. That was it, and it was a great stress reliever. It was awesome.
Yes. I'm doing the same thing, but for school. If I get too annoyed from just studying, I just get it, blow some stuff,
Yeah,
ease my brain.
absolutely.
Just good stress reliever. I can approve that.
No, I think that sometimes we just get infatuated on the wrong thing, and we get infatuated on we've got to win, we've got to increase our win rate, we've got to do X, Y, and Z.
To be fair, on the reason why I always aim to win, because you get extra credits, and credits are the most important thing in my life.
Oh, absolutely, credits are fantastic.
For shippers. Yeah.
Coins!
Coins.
Okay, so we've got another 10 minutes to go. So a couple more questions. So Firstly, we got I don't know where I am, said, stock tier 9 tanks are a nightmare.
Oh, goodness
True.
me.
Well, that is
Except,
true, but most stock tanks are a nightmare, but there are some out there that aren't a nightmare, to be perfectly honest with you.
E95 or I think E75 is not that bad.
No, that's
What
true.
else?
That's true.
T54. Until you get the gun, it's not that bad.
But then you look at the other side of the spectrum with the Centurion 7-1, STI, and T95, and you think like,
Don't mention
what
the
the
PV4
fuck?
or the.
Well, don't even try and go out in a Leo
W11.
PTA.
You can give people PTSD by saying drive a stock STI or drive a stock
If you drive a stock Leo PTA, then you're not going to enjoy the Leo
luck.
PTA.
Hey,
Trust me.
I never grinded the engine or the tracks on a PTA.
Oh,
I've forgotten what it's like. I haven't driven a stock tank in over 3 years. I've got so much free XP. I never have to.
oh,
Thank God.
exactly. I haven't played a stock tank for a long time. But I do know that the Leo PTA is a nightmare. I think the E50 is also a nightmare.
KV4 and
KV4, yeah.
WZ110.
But
Also the kinda IS2 for me personally.
Funny has just said Leo PTA. Oh my god! Exactly, it's an awful stock tank.
I never minded the stock PTA. I genuinely didn't, but then again, I went up the gun really quick.
Yeah, I mean, some of the tier 9s at stock aren't the best, but then again, some of the tanks at stock across the game aren't the best. And then some of the games, some of the stock tanks are better than the actual upgraded tank. To be honest with you, it all depends.
Like, for example, Standard B. The stock gun is almost terrible, but still it's useful if you can flank. But from the moment you get the top gun, the auto reloader, it becomes butter.
Well, I mean, we mentioned him earlier. I mean, Skate came out with a video when the Charioteer came out and said, "Don't play it with the top gun, play it stock." So you know, Martin's saying, "Try the stock ST1."
Yeah, I missed kind of the Charioteer meta when it was.
And then another question that was put forward, that was the stock tanks. Another question was from Kathmandu. Has the tiers in Blitz become too compressed? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And do you think they will decide to add additional tiers beyond 10? Well, I don't think you can add additional tiers beyond 10 realistically unless you start doing modern tanks, is the honest answer.
No, please don't start with it.
I don't think that the compression is the main issue. The main issue is that the tank, well, that the tiers are too crowded, especially 7-8.
Yeah.
Well, 7-8 are basically printing credits tiers. 9 and 10 are both.
Yeah, true, but go on Blitzhanger and look at the amount of tanks that we have, and those 2 tiers alone.
Oh yeah.
Like, what the hell?
Every tank in Tech 3 has a premium variant of it, and
Somewhere, maybe, yeah.
Some even have 2 or more. For example, the Yak Tiger. It has 2 premium in tier 8, the regular 8.8 and the
Albeit the 2 being
2050.
almost exactly the same.
Then you have the IS3, its premium counterparts IS6 and IS5, and now modernly we have Object 252U.
Yeah.
From WZ line, we have WZ111, 112, and Glacial.
Yeah.
Like tier 8, even though I like the versatility of the tier, but still, too many tanks.
No, I agree. I mean,
soon-
Martin's saying here that tier 4 is the new tier 5, which is true to an extent. It is true. And, you know, I mean, I did a video ages ago. Most of the tier 10s, by the way, have never existed in real life past a blueprint. So to move it up to another tier would be very difficult to do. Incredibly difficult to do, to be fair.
Super Mega Ultra Mouse.
Well,
Like
I
mouse
mean,
with
yeah,
space
I
armor.
mean, you really would be getting into modern tanks when you get that past that, and you'll be having the
I don't
M1
know.
Abrahams and the Challengers,
But
and
the thing is, We already have quite modern tanks in the game. Look at the
Yeah.
Chieftain Mark 6.
KPZ.
Well, you say
Yeah,
that,
the Count
but the
Fantasy
Chieftain,
system,
the
not a very
Chieftain
modern
Mark 6 actually came out in the late 50s. And if you check out the tanks like the Leopard 1 and the Mark 6, they are post-war tanks. They're not termed as modern tanks as such. And I know the Mark 6 does look that way, but it's not. Oddly.
To be fair,
British design at its finest.
Hmm.
Finally, they do something right.
to be fair, most
I mean,
controversial
that's
tank
always
that
that's always been the niche for Blitz is the sort of Cold War post-war era. But
Yeah.
if you want modern tanks, then Modern Warfare's out there, and that's a fantastic game as well. And they've got a mobile
absolutely.
version of that. So
Absolutely.
if you want the modern tank, I think it's also
To be fair, I just want like World War One, World War Two, post-war a little bit. That's fine. Just please no artillery and airplanes. Just don't that because of airplanes and artillery. I left the War Thunder.
yeah.
You
I
kill
think
someone and
I don't
they
think
come back
think
with
artillery
plane
will. They may consider it, but I don't think it will ever make a showing in
won't do
Blitz.
it,
And
in
I
the
don't think
future
it will go
because
down
of
well with
small
Blitz because the maps are
and
too
weak
small.
Weak devices, don't forget that.
I just did a quick check. Literally, the youngest tank we have is a Sheridan, which went out of service in 97.
Yeah. Yeah, but look when it was developed.
Yeah, 1969.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's like MBT almost.
But it was a lot. Technically, it was a scout tank.
Yeah. But if you look at the
here we
Sheraton's
have the
history, I
frontline
mean, it entered service in '69. I mean, like I said, you'll tend to find that the tanks in Blitz range from prior to World War II up until the end of the 1960s.
And blueprints.
Yeah, basically.
And I don't think we've got a problem with that. I think the fancy tanks, though, is where wargaming went too
Yeah,
far.
the tier 7, especially tier 7.
Yeah, a lot of that caused a bit of concern, the big fantasy tanks, but
Now we
hey,
know
I
that
mean,
they are a concern.
Yeah. But I mean, like I said, I'm just going to call it there because we've been on for almost an hour and a half. It was, this was a pilot. I wanted to see if there was going to be any interest in people coming on and talking about what their gripes are, what they like, what they think, to give the players a chance to be heard effectively, rather than streaming through loads of comments. And so I hope that the people on YouTube firstly found it interesting, and I've been trying to keep an eye on what people are saying there, and I hope that those of you who
Well,
made
we've seen
comments
something
have been covered. To be honest with you. I also hope that those on Discord were, managed to get their views across, and you've been given ample opportunity to have your say, and that was the idea behind this. And if there's enough interest, I intend to do this every week. This was a pilot, so I'm not saying it's going to be every Saturday, but I'm saying I want to do it every week, and I want to get to the point whereby maybe other, Martin, this is aimed towards people like you, maybe other YouTubers want to jump in and sort of help chair it and, say things and stuff like that, and we can have like interviews and panel discussions. And
Martin,
like
you lazy ass! Come on, man.
So if anybody's if the interest is there, then I'm more than happy to do these type of live streams. In addition, not in a replacement of the other type of live streams as well.
Well, that would be cool. Just continue this, but we need to change topic, go a little bit in depth more on some other particular stuff like Tech 3. Should they improve or should they keep it? This was just overall chatting about the current state.
Yeah, I mean, the key thing is to reach the right audience as well. So this has been great for all of us, I think, in being able to get to chat. But you're not going to find many people that are going to rock up and sit down to listen to an hour and a half of people chatting about the game.
Yeah.
So I think personally, I don't know, I talked to you about this on Discord earlier before, that shorter focused topics where we can all sit down and just talk about stuff, and then people can look them up would be a good idea.
That's what I meant.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'd like to do. I'd like to get an agenda where we're not talking loads of topics, but just one or two, realistically, and to schedule it for around 45 to 60 minutes, and no longer than that.
That's going to be an issue.
I still think that 45 minutes to 35 max.
Yeah, I'm thinking 45 minutes would probably be the best time frame.
Sounds good.
Excellent. Right, well, guys, those of you on YouTube, thank you for joining in. Thank you for posting your views, your comments, your questions, and everything. I really appreciate that. Maybe next time you can jump into Discord and be heard. Those of you on Discord, guys, really thank you for the debate and the discussion. I mean, I think it's useful that we can sit down as a community and talk about these things rather than just get frustrated and annoyed. Which I think is better to just chat rather than get annoyed. And we can thrash these things out.
Sometimes
Thanks, Martin. See you later,
get
my
annoyed
friend.
that funny things happen.
Absolutely. And right, so with that, I'm going to say thanks for everybody. Thanks for watching the stream. I'm going to go now. We've had an hour and a half, which was a bit long for this one, but it was a pilot just to see what was out there. I probably may do a live stream later tonight, but that'll be playing the game with subs and everybody like per usual, not just watching me be a complete noob and die within the first 2 seconds.
Same as usual.
Same as usual, yeah.
Guys, prepare your pay-to-win tanks. We're going hunting.
There are some more videos going up. There's a video gone up earlier today. There'll be more videos going up later. Some replays that I need to send out there. I have been playing replays in the background, so those of you who think that your replays have not been sent, trust me, they've been playing in the background, all the recent replays that I've got. You will see that Stubbo was in a replay was in one of my videos earlier in his smasher, that OP tank. So he didn't get a mastery, so there you go. It happens. It happens.
Only 5,000 battles in it this year.
Exactly. So, guys, thanks for joining. Thanks for all that. Let me know your comments below, or even on my Discord if you want to do more of these. I'd really love to hear your thoughts, your views, and your questions and agendas that you'd like to be covered. And until then, I say my usual stuff. Stay safe out there, have fun on the battlefield, and happy tanking, because that is what it's all about, having fun and being happy. Bye for now.
Remember,
Okay.
being the